So believe me when I say I would have gladly taken that beating to spare my son pain and save his life. I would have.
At the sentencing of her son's killer for second-degree murder, Deb Abrams read a powerful victim impact statement. She read it again outside the courthouse. Here are some excerpts.
I want to tell you about my baby boy, Adam. He was a mama's boy from the moment he was born. When we would walk, he would wrap his arm around my leg until he was too tall to do it anymore. All through his life, he always told me he loved me when he was leaving. He didn't care if his friends were there. In his teens, he started calling me Mama Dukes. I asked him why he called me that. He said, if anybody messes with me, you'll duke them. To which I laughed and said, I've never been in a fight, but you're right, verbally, they will wear it. From his early teens and all of Adam's and Shane's friends on, called me Mama Dukes and still do, many times. Many times I bailed Adam out of jail for petty thefts due to his addiction. When I bailed him out in April 2013, I again hoped and believed he truly wanted to get better. I would stop in randomly a couple times a day to check on him. I would take him for groceries, necessities, buy him another microwave, another vacuum, dishes, pots, towels, whatever he needed to live. And I always kept the receipts so he couldn't return them for cash. Many times when we were out in public, people would stare at him. I would stare at them until they looked away. In July, Adam was arrested again. Again, my mother and I went to bail him out. We sat 3 days in court, waiting for him to be brought in. On the third day, he was finally brought in. The entire courtroom gasped. My mother and I silently wept. Again, I took the stand. And immediately, the judge looked at me and said, "What do you see over there?" I replied, "My son, who has been beaten so badly in jail that his eyes are swollen shut and black and blue." She said, "I see a drug addict. He can get beaten in jail. He can get beaten on the streets." To which I replied, "You can't run in jail." Again, for over an hour, I was on the stand, belittled by the Crown as to my ability to afford bail for him, in my abilities as a mother. And in the end, the judge denied him bail, and he was shipped from Sarnia to London EMDC, where I would travel to visit him. Adam called me collect every other day, and he was worried about he worried too much about the phone bill. To which I assured him, "Don't worry, I need to hear your voice." When weeks would go by, I would be worried as to why I hadn't heard from him. It turned out it was because it was due to being in lockdowns from EMDC being short-staffed. I got letters almost every other day detailing his progress in getting clean, in staying clean, that he had met with Jim Henderson from the Mission House in London and was going to go there for a 6-month long-term rehabilitation. His final collect call was on Halloween at 6:20 p.m. I hadn't heard from him in weeks. I was elated. He stated he could not talk long as there was a lineup for the phone. He told me he would be out in 46 days on the 16th of December. I told him, I'll be there to pick you up. He was excited to come home for one day and celebrate his baby sister's birthday early and to return to London the next day. He said, I love you so much, Mama Dukes, and can never thank you enough for believing in me, and I promise to make you proud of me. I told him, I've always been proud of you. I love you, my baby boy. And that was the last time I ever spoke to my son. The next day, the detectives knocked on my door, and my life was changed forever. When Adam's body was finally returned home to Sarnia, to McCormick's funeral home, this was the hardest job Cameron has ever done. He spent 15 years in Toronto before returning to Sarnia to raise his family, opening his own business he had never experienced and hopes he never does again. He never experienced such trauma to a body. He dressed Adam for a private 20-minute family viewing before his cremation. My mother, Shane, and I went to Winners to buy him an outfit. We picked all his favorite styles and colors. Everything was black, with the hoodie being black and red. The only thing on Adam's body that day was his t-shirt that Shane happened to be wearing when he got the news that his brother was dead, and it was Adam's shirt. Cameron had covered him completely, including putting his hoodie up in order to keep the red velvet cloth on his face from moving. Cameron stressed to us not to remove anything and to only touch his hands. If it wasn't for the red skull outline that he had tattooed on his hand, I would never have believed it to be my son. My world gets darker as the season changes to fall. As Halloween was Adam and mine favorite holiday, then it is followed by Christmas and his birthday, January 6th. I cannot bear to celebrate any occasion as he is not here to celebrate. The single angel wing that I wear with Adam's ashes on my chain is a gift from the boys. They picked it out and gave it to me the first Christmas Adam was gone. It is the only Christmas present I have ever opened, as I couldn't hurt two little boys with my pain. Carolyn has been a huge support for me, and especially Shane. When I see people judging her the way they judged Adam, it makes me angry. Because of the tattoos, the hairstyles, the clothings. As she sits here proudly wearing Adam's most prized possession, his leather jacket, he sewed his patches on, he put the studs on. I would like to remind people what I taught my children. Don't judge a book by the cover. Open the book and read the pages inside. I appreciate, Anthony George, that you took the ownership of what you did to my son, as I believe that hearing and seeing the evidence again would have caused my parents heart attacks, as the last 4 years have aged them and made them frail. I feared you would have taken 3 family members from me. My final statement to you is I love my children deeply. I never once raised a hand to them. I've never spanked them. So believe me when I say I would have gladly taken that beating to spare my son pain and save his life. I would have.